Have you ever wondered what the single biggest mistake Hitler made during World War II was? Some say it was invading the Soviet Union. Others point to declaring war on the United States. But one of the most catastrophic self-inflicted wounds was a decision he made in the frozen city of Stalingrad, a decision that doomed an entire army. In late 1942, Hitler's elite Sixth Army, under General Friedrich Paulus, was bogged down in brutal street-to-street fighting in Stalingrad. They were exhausted, low on supplies, and facing a harsh Russian winter they were completely unprepared for. But Hitler was obsessed. Capturing the city bearing Stalin's name had become a personal crusade, a symbol of his will to conquer. Meanwhile, the Soviet High Command, led by Marshal Georgy Zhukov, was quietly preparing a masterstroke. They saw that the German flanks, guarding the Sixth Army's long supply lines, were held by much weaker Romanian, Hungarian, and Italian troops. These Allied forces were poorly equipped and demoralized, a weak link just waiting to be broken. The Soviet plan was codenamed Operation Uranus. It was a massive pincer movement. Two powerful Soviet fronts would smash through those weak flanks, race across the open steppe, and meet at the town of Kalakhnadanu, trapping the entire German Sixth Army inside a gigantic pocket. On November 19, 1942, the trap was sprung. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers, supported by thousands of tanks and artillery pieces, crashed into the Romanian lines. The thinly stretched defenses collapsed almost instantly. Chaos erupted as the Soviet armored spearheads drove deep behind German lines. General Paulus and his staff saw the disaster unfolding. They immediately requested permission to break out of Stalingrad, to fight their way west before the jaws of the trap snapped shut. It was the only logical military move. Any commander on the ground could see that. But the message that came back from Hitler's headquarters was chillingly clear. Hold your positions at all costs. The Sixth Army is to form a fortress. Supplies will come by air. Hitler refused to give up an inch of Stalingrad. He promised that the Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, could keep the army supplied. It was a fatal fantasy. Hermann Göring, the head of the Luftwaffe, recklessly assured Hitler it could be done, but his own commanders knew it was impossible. The Sixth Army needed at least 750 tons of supplies every single day just to survive. The weather was atrocious. Soviet fighters contested the skies, and the Luftwaffe simply didn't have enough transport planes. On their best days, they barely managed to deliver a fraction of what was needed. Inside the pocket, which the Germans grimly called the cauldron, conditions became a living hell. The soldiers, numbering nearly 300,000 men, were starving. They ate their horses, then rats, then anything they could find. Ammunition ran low. Frostbite and disease were rampant. Without fuel, their tanks and vehicles became useless iron coffins. A German relief attempt, Operation Winter Storm, was launched in December. But it was too little, too late. Hitler once again forbade Paulus from attempting to break out to meet the rescue force, demanding he hold the fortress of Stalingrad. The relief effort stalled and was eventually beaten back. The last glimmer of hope was gone. For 2 more agonizing months, the Sixth Army withered away. They fought on with desperate courage, but courage couldn't defeat starvation in the bitter cold. By the end of January 1943, the Soviets had sliced the pocket in two. On February 2nd, a gaunt and defeated Field Marshal Paulus, whom Hitler had just promoted in a vain attempt to make him fight to the death, surrendered. Of the nearly 300,000 men trapped in the cauldron, only about 91,000 were left to surrender. And of those, only 5,000 would ever see Germany again. The rest perished in Soviet captivity. The Battle of Stalingrad was over. It was a turning point in the war, and a disaster born directly from one man's stubborn refusal to accept reality. By rejecting the logical battle plan of a strategic retreat, Hitler single-handedly destroyed his own army, a catastrophic loss of manpower and equipment from which the Wehrmacht would never truly recover. It was a brutal lesson in how ideology and ego can lead to ruin. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most critical moments. See you next time.